Welcome to In the Room, where we explore the elusive world of casting for film, TV, and commercials. Join us as we interview directors, writers, producers, and actors, taking a deep dive into their experiences with casting and how the ultimate decisions are made in bringing a story to the screen. Get an inside look at casting and find out what really goes on in the room.
Bravo, 6 Fox 40. Sensors are picking up at 1060 in your sector.
Copy, Romeo coordinates.
Need to get your ass back here, pronto.
What's wrong?
Everything.
What happened?
He was out cold. Next thing I know, he has me on the ground.
Did you see the gun in his possession?
They were fighting for it.
Then your weapon in your holster,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Simple yes.
I don't remember.
Well, this is Felix Navarro. I'm Charlie Hobbs, IA. You ever lay eyes on this hombre?
Never laid eyes on him.
I doesn't drive all the way down here for no reason.
I told you. It's got nothing to do with this.
Agent Hitchcock!
All you're doing is lying.
I've tried this. I think I did this.
Just trying to figure out what side you're really working out here as a way of getting under your skin.
No matter what I do, he just keeps going back.
Welcome to In the Room. My name is John Williams. I am a casting director.
I'm Heather Kafka, and I'm an actor.
I'm Kendra Franklin. I'm an actor and a casting assistant.
And today we have Lance Larson, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Making sure, just double checking. This is pulled from the internet, so we'll see the accuracy, right?
You're 100% so far.
Yeah, good. He is an award-winning director, check, writer, producer, and editor, represented by United Talent Agency. If you need to get a hold of them, reach out to them. And Heroes and Villains Entertainment Management. Yep. Those are his contacts. Lance is a quarterfinalist for the 2023 Academy Nickel Fellowship. Congratulations. That's not an easy task for a script. Hornbird. In 2022, Lance directed and co-wrote the feature film Deadland, which is what we'll be talking about today, which was an official selection and world premiere at South by Southwest 2023. And it's now available on, I think what I found, I've watched it on Amazon, but most all streaming services, it seems, available. Go watch it. Since 1998, Lance has directed numerous short films, Crosswalk Bloom, Cuckold Picasso, I love that name, and Velcro. Commercials and music videos for Fox Sports, Play Creative, Synthetic Pictures, Stone Core Films, Giant Pictures, and FM Rocks. FM Rocks. I remember
Back in the day,
Rocks,
right?
Dude.
Yeah.
I remember them.
I learned how to write concepts from Dave Myers.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, man, I worked with him a lot. In 2012, Lance was a finalist at Ridley Scott's Shooters Contest. Congratulations on that. Lance also works with Fox Entertainment as a producer and promo editor, launching TV shows since 2013. Former places of employment include promo director editor at Play Creative from 2009-2013, promo and trailer editor at Universal Pictures from 2005-2009, and worked as a trailer editor for Blockbuster Entertainment DEG Productions from 1998-2005. Lance has a bachelor's degree in radio, television, and film from the University of Texas at Austin. All accurate?
Hey.
Oh, it.
Woo!
Oh, 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good job, internet.
Yeah.
Internet fails us quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
So you basically were born with a camera in your hand, editing, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So let's start, because I don't know. You're new to me in the Austin scene. So yeah, let us kind of know how you got here.
Yeah. God, when I was a kid, my grandmother bought one of those gigantic video cameras that was bigger than me as a kid. And you had to sling this thing to put a VHS tape in it.
Yes.
And my brother and I just hijacked it and started making movies. And then we were trying to edit between VCRs and getting control track breaks and just, technology wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
But
how did you even know just falling and just trial and error? Like, even to hook up two different, like, that's pretty, because I did that too. Like, just even to know.
Yeah, that was probably like on the third or fourth go around.
Yeah.
Film, whatever you wanted to call those. We made like 70 of them and they were just a total blast, and we didn't know what we were doing and just having a good time and didn't even realize that there were, because we'd go to the movies and watch movies, but we were so young, we were probably 7. We didn't even realize that there were directors and people behind the scenes. We were just trying to make what we saw on the screen.
Yeah.
Little smoke bombs off camera.
And is this in Texas or where is this?
Yeah, it's Plano, Texas.
Plano,
So
okay.
I grew up in North Dallas, yeah.
Okay.
And then came to school here in Austin.
The hub of entertainment, Plano, Dallas.
It's where the trees are really short and there's just a lot of cement. It's great.
Yeah.
So, no, when I came here, I never wanted to go back to North Dallas. It's wonderful, but like Austin is really, to me, the town to be in.
Yeah,
especially for this.
Yeah.
But just regardless, it's just the hill country and University of Texas, everything about it. Like pretty much for me. If I went to LA for 15 years, but I always said if I could come back, it would be Austin.
Okay.
Here I am.
Cool. Welcome. And so you're making films. What kind of stuff are you making? For with the camcorder and
we're
like, are they horror
young.
films? Or are they like
They were everything. They were horror films, comedy.
Cops and robbery.
Yeah, kind of spoofs on TV shows we would see. Like I think we did a Rambo one that was fun. We did remember that Heart to Heart show?
Yeah,
we did that. They were great. They're hilarious. They're so fun to watch.
You
now.
have access to
Yeah,
them?
do you have them?
Footage,
That's amazing.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
so
that's
ridiculous.
so cool.
Yeah, just the neighborhood kids.
Dude, we should
that's
make a
so
short
cool.
out of
So funny.
that.
Yeah, but it's the best film school ever, That reminds me of my first film school class I took at the University of Texas. I was so excited. You go in there and I get into the class, and I think it was Bob Buckaloo who was the teacher, and he's still there, I think. And he, there's probably 30, 40 kids in there. And he comes in and he says, this semester, you're going to make a film. Good luck. And we all just kind of sat there and he goes, go. He goes, and I walked out of there. I was pissed. I was like, I'm paying all this money and I came here to learn how to make movies.
Yeah.
And he just threw us out, And so, I spent like $2,000, which is all the money I had, to make this short film and come back at the end of the semester. It's only the second class was the last class.
Wow.
And come back in and there's only like 6 people show up.
Whoa.
And he says, okay, well, I want everybody to know you get an A,
That's amazing.
and you're welcome to, you're already enrolled into film 2. You've been accepted because I wanted to find out who the real filmmakers are. He goes, because the other 30 something people dropped the class within 2 weeks of that first class.
Did you have access to any tools? Nope.
Not
No cameras. Not that first
No, we
round.
had to find it all ourselves. Nothing. And
Okay.
so I was really mad until that day. I realized, he
This is
taught
the greatest lesson.
greatest lesson ever, because
I think-
nobody's going to help you make a film.
I just want his gig.
That's what I say. I think
That
two
sounds
things
like
from
a
that story is I'm applying for that gig.
Yeah,
Right.
That's a great teaching job right there.
I took other classes with him and he is amazing.
Okay.
He really is. But that was still the best class I ever took, because if you want to make a film, it's on you.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to hold your hand. Nobody's going to tell you how to do it, because there's really
It's like parenting.
right. Yeah. Seriously. It's been, absolutely.
And no one's there for all the no's. All the or all the waiting for something to happen. No one's there.
Or to tell you what to do when that happens. Right.
I mean, I don't even know that I know.
They
to
said
this day.
now, so they said no, so now you do this.
Right.
Like there's no playbook
There's
ever.
no guidance.
So it's like
yeah.
But I think the fact that we're all sitting here kind of shows that we're pushers. You
Yeah.
just keep pushing, and you don't even know if you're pushing in the right direction. You're just like, well, I got to do something.
Yeah.
We
can't just
passed.
sit.
We passed class 1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I think that's the hardest part is like waiting for the no, and then when you get the no, it's like, okay, now what, you know? And so for me, and I'm sure you guys do the same thing, is like when I'm idle, I'm developing new projects. I'm just constantly developing or building decks, or there's never a reason not to be busy, So
Yeah, and that motivation is all. There isn't a paycheck. There isn't money there. It's just all like on the hopes and the dreams. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So okay,
Hope springs eternal.
So we go to UT, and we'll get up to Deadland here pretty quick. But we go to UT, and then you're in film school. Great experience.
Yeah,
Okay.
really great. It's arduous because making films takes so much time. So a lot of times I wouldn't take the full 15 hours a semester. So it took me 5 years to graduate just because.
But you were focused on the right things. It seems like
100%.
Yeah,
I loved it.
And you knew at that point you're like, I'm going to be a filmmaker.
Well, when I got to school, I think I took my first semester. I took business and realized very quickly that okay, I just got to tell my dad I'm going to go to film school.
And how was that support from the family? Because
awesome. Like he said, hey, I'm behind you 100%. He goes, I just hope you don't live a life of poverty.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I feel like it's a $1 billion industry. There's got to be a check in there with my name on it somewhere.
That's pretty good. I've never heard
a whole
that.
lot of
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. And so, it sounds like reading the bio that you're sort of like get through school and you're like, okay, I'm going to go to where the $1 billion is, which is out in LA.
Yeah. My dad, good advice on his part. He said, hey, if you want to live in Rome, you got to go where the Romans are. So I did it.
Okay.
Yeah. And you were out there too, I'm sure.
I was 30 years.
What years were those?
It's 2005 to like 3 years ago. So about 15 years.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So you went out there and then jumped into what?
It's funny. I was taking a class. I call it a class. It was like a program called Group 101, and it was for commercial directors. And basically, it was a grueling class. I lied and said I lived there because they wouldn't have accepted me if they knew I was living in Texas at the time. And so, basically, you make 6 spec spots in 6 months. And so I would fly into LA, shoot the spot, fly back, post it. And I was working at Blockbuster at the time in Dallas. And then I would jump back on the plane when it was finished at the end of the month, and you show for an advertising agency. So there's a lot of back and forth. And it was
on a Blockbuster salary.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so like
my kids and everybody like to make fun. Oh, you were a guy, checking the tapes. I was like, no, I actually worked in the corporate, and they had a whole studio.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They have all that.
So, like,
got movie trailers.
Got it.
how did you do that?
Right.
It was tough.
You held down a corporate job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you would like mark out your schedule.
I had a really cool producer that would just, because she knew I'd be gone just for a day. And
so you would just be gone. You would just do
yeah,
LA.
and
Your
nobody knew.
Day.
I didn't even do that. I just dipped
okay.
out and went and came back. So
That's nice.
Wow.
I used to use vacation in my corporate job.
yeah, and I do that with Fox and stuff like that.
And so you're pulling resources from Dallas, all the actors, all the equipment, everything.
No, I was shooting in LA.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I would crew up out there, and I went to the University of Texas with Jazz Shelton, DP, and so he was out in Los Angeles. So he was DP'd all this stuff, so he was kind of helping me crew up those shoots and whatnot. But they were great.
And so that gets you where?
Well, that's a funny thing is it was cool because like Saatchi and all these advertising agencies would write these cool spec spots and we'd kind of collaborate. But on the last one, I came out there and I'd got my editor's reel put together on, DVDs.
Yeah.
There was no.
Yeah. I know. Had the tower.
So much has changed.
Yeah.
I made like, probably 1,500 DVDs. It's really expensive to have all of them.
Yeah.
And I go out there and I'm talking to a friend and we just did the Group 101 thing. And that night we usually went out after we pitched, got drunk, and then the next morning I was getting on a plane. So my buddy, one of the other directors on the thing says, hey, let's go grab a bite to eat before you go. And I said, okay. And he said, so what are you going to do? I go, well, I got all these DVDs. I'm going to pass them out. And he goes, well, can I have one? I go, sure. So I gave it to him. Driving to the airport, and I get a call from Universal Pictures. And they're like, hey, we just saw your reel. And I'm like, how is that possible? Like I was just having breakfast like an hour ago. And they said, can you come in here? And I was like, sure. Turned the car around. They hired me and called my wife and I said, put the house on the market. I'm staying here. So, and she did. And Crazy.
And so in hindsight, is that serendipitous, and then was it a good thing or was it
great.
It was? Okay.
I mean, it's
like I'm saying, because it derails sort of the directing path,
it's a
right?
double-edged
Yeah, because
sword.
then you worked for Universal Pictures as an editor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, trailer editor, promo editor. So it's double-edged sword because like it pulls you away, and like it's like, can you just grind it out and try to direct and make it, but it also kind of keeps you in the business. It's like, because if you're,
well, it's Wizard of Oz. You're behind the curtain at that point, seeing how it all works.
100%.
Like I would imagine it gives you that.
And also, too, you can navigate, as everyone knows, once you're in the corporate structure, you can navigate the different departments and meetings and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and
Which from my side, it's you can't penetrate. It's hard to penetrate, right?
Yeah.
I can't tell you the cease and desist that I have from everybody.
And it's weird, too, because,
Don't
like
submit to us.
It's so compartmentalized.
Yep. That's the other thing people don't know.
Yeah, like you're in the trailer world and with the marketing teams, but you're not on the production side, you know? But I will say that it was the best education, Universal especially, was the best education I ever got because, I started editing, in college because I wanted to learn how to tell a story in pictures because that teaches you to direct, right? And so when I got to Universal, all of a sudden I'm getting all the dailies in from Ridley Scott movies, Quentin Tarantino movies, Sam Mendes movies. I worked on Jarhead and Glorious Bastards and, like American Gangster. And so all of a sudden I'm seeing how the greatest directors in the world shoot and why they make the choices they make.
Yeah.
And I'm breaking down their dailies and rebuilding them. And, that's what, And the funny thing about
You're
it
also
is,
seeing the mistakes. You're also seeing the excess. You're seeing them falling them fit their face, which is huge. What works, what doesn't work,
all of it,
which is massive to see. Like, oh, Quentin makes mistakes. Yeah.
Jesus, I mean,
I don't know.
Those guys
do
rarely do.
I don't know that
they don't make. They're that good, and that's what's
Ridley
so
for sure because he storyboards everything.
All those guys, they're so good. And when I was cutting trailers for Blockbuster and really DEJ, they would make these like $15 million kind of B filmish kind of movies, but they put money into them. I mean, they were like stunts and the whole deal. But so you learn from seeing a lot of bad filmmakers make bad movies, and then you go to see like Sam, Quentin, Ridley, James Cameron.
Just to get access to Inglourious Bastards and all that, like coming in.
Well, it's a funny story. Like when I went in there, they told me, "Hey, you want to work on Inglourious Bastards?" I said, "No, I don't really want to work on that." And they're like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because I don't think a fun shoot 'em up about the Holocaust is a great idea, And they said, "Well, just watch it." And so I watched it and I was like, "All right, I love this movie." And so it was a great joy to work on, and
and you just didn't because you didn't want to be all consumed with that topic or that material, or
I just didn't. I just thought it was in bad taste until I saw the movie. And
got it,
because he could do that movie.
Yeah,
and that's a real credit to the auteur that he is, because anybody else tries to do that, it's just not going to go well, I don't think. And it's just a very delicate line he walks, and because he has this magic ability to. A lot of filmmakers will take a scene right to the edge, and then they'll break the tension. Quentin does the opposite. He takes it right to the edge, and then he just has it end way more horrific than you would ever imagine. And for some reason, you're laughing and enjoying it.
Into Hollywood, I did not, and I know the story, and I didn't see it coming.
Well, that's another thing, because I was privy to, I worked on the documentary with the real footage from Charles Manson, and I saw some shit that just no human should see, And so going into that movie, I was like, I really didn't want to see that movie. I was like, God, I know it's coming here,
Yeah.
And then he changed the ending. He changed history. And I was so relieved and thoroughly enjoyed that ending, because I didn't want to see what I'd seen in the documentary.
People next to me moved away. I was laughing so hard at that ending. They were like, "This guy is creepy." I was just like, "This is so good."
It's so great, and it's such a. I'm sure you were relieved too, because everybody feels the elephant in the room that's coming.
But he did such a good job that I forgot. I was like, "Oh yeah, there's this part too that happened."
Yeah, he's really, really good, and I loved how he changed history in Glorious. It's not how Hitler died, but how fun was that?
Totally. Yep. Okay, so you're at Universal, and then you're starting to get the itch of like, I really want to.
Yeah, and all the while, like most of these places, Universal was funny. Like they were kind of okay with me being a director, but kind of not, where Fox is amazing. Like I still freelance for them, and they, if I tell them I got something, they let me go shoot a movie or go do a commercial, and they're like so excited and cool about it. So it just depends on the place. I worked a little bit with Paramount, and they were really cool too. So, but Universal was cool, and then they would be like, when I would be walking out the door to go shoot a commercial, they'd be like, "You can't go. You're working on Despicable Me, and we need you." And I was like, "Yeah, but it just released, and I told you a month ago."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, but now we can't." And so it was really awkward.
So then you had to go and try to find another gig that was more flexible for you, because you were like, you ultimately knew, you were like, okay. And are you writing on the side?
Well, that's the best part about like the whole editing thing, was when I was cutting, you're constantly breaking down storylines and rebuilding them, and it teaches you how to write.
Yeah.
And that's what I didn't expect to get out of it. I thought I would learn how to direct out of it. I didn't know I'd learn how to write out of it. So that was super cool. And, I highly suggest editing, even if you don't need to do it for a full-time job, just to do it, to get in there and experiment, because the nonlinear thing is just so practical for that, so.
And so this sparks the idea to start writing.
Yeah, because it teaches you to just kind of, I call it slinging mud. You just throw mud on the wall and see if it sticks, and like, oh, that idea actually worked,
Yeah.
So when I write now, it's fearless, like, because a lot of people are scared to put something on the page.
Yeah.
They think too much about what is the perfect way to say this. Just put it
out.
Yeah, I always say, okay, this is like the B- version.
The vomit draft is what I call it.
Beautiful. Yes, that's exactly it.
Well, I don't even
Get it on
draft.
the
I just
page.
throw ideas. I'm just like ideas.
Yeah.
Ideas.
So, and that's the great thing about talking to people that have been in the business and working, because we get it. Like
Yeah.
we're okay with that shitty first draft
Do you
of
know
that
what? Mark
scene.
Duplass actually just had a really good piece of advice where he said, do it on like a dictaphone or like on your phone, record yourself talking it out. Because then you can't stop yourself, and your expectations are super low.
Yeah.
Because you're driving and you're just talking or whatever. And so you're not expecting it to be anything like script correct, but you'll also get this great sort of pacing and timing of like the dialogue and the feel of a thing that then you'll be able to go back and translate into actually sitting down and scripting it. But you won't stop yourself, because you're just talking.
Yeah, and that's, I've met him a few times because Jas shot a lot of their movies. That's a genius, because on a lot of levels, that's really smart, because, my best ideas come when I'm driving in the car.
Yeah.
And you don't have time to write it down. Yeah.
Yeah, because your conscious mind is focused on something, your subconscious is running wild.
Right.
So,
and you're less critical of
brilliant.
yourself when you're just like
Rambling.
and talking into your phone. You're just blah, 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 blah. Then when you're like, now I'm doing something purposeful and it's got to be good. Oh, don't say that. It's stupid.
I used to
and
get
you
hired
like edit
by
yourself.
writers, and we'd go in and we'd just work dialogue, and we just record it all. So we just work dialogue.
that's
Now I would come from this character, come from that character, and then he would come back with the script, and we just record it all. And
you have an added advantage because you're an actor. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I usually just type it all out and then go back and
See, I get stuck in structure.
Well,
I'm like interior, exterior.
Oh,
like
ex-
messes.
I would get stuck on just like how many different ways I could say he walked to the door.
Oh,
And
really?
it's like, I'm going to sit there and waste 2 hours going, like, trying to describe
He
how
shuffled.
he
Skipped.
he patted his feet. No, what? And I would just like pontificate on that forever, and I wouldn't get anywhere. And it was like, this is stupid. Whereas, like, if I'm just talking because I'm just thinking it out, I'm like, well, he walked to the door, he opened it, he saw Susan, he felt like blah blah blah. It's like you're less critical. You're not expecting yourself to sound like you're reading a finished script. You're just talking it out in your head, and it's on your phone or wherever, and then you can go back later, and then you're like, oh, okay. And so I just thought that was like the best advice I'd heard in a long time.
Yeah,
What's the beauty
him
of
and Jay are they're
recording?
masters.
Right?
That's so good.
I was like, the beauty of recording when you listen, when you actually listen back, it gives you the opportunity to imagine what you're seeing in your own mind.
Yeah.
So once you get it out on paper, if it doesn't make sense, you're like, oh, he tiptoed to the door. Or you know what I'm
you
saying?
can hear the inflection in your voice that helps you remember the way you were describing it, effectually in your head, like the way it felt, to where if you didn't have the words at the time to put it in the script, maybe now you can think about it because you can hear it in your voice the way you described it.
And lately, like with script writing, I've tried to make the read as easy as possible on the reader. So it's mostly dialogue. I think oh God, what's his name? Guy. He's a script editor, and he said, the perfect script is 99 blank pages.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's freaking awesome.
That's smart because I have to read
know.
a ton of scripts, and it's like, dude, so much description.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm always
Yeah.
like at a
that.
table read and stuff. I'm like, just you guys, you're not going to see half of this.
So you're saying
Stop.
that you're learning that it's make it easier on them.
Yes.
Get them in the story. Get
That's
them
right.
in the
Characters and dialogue are
Yeah.
what's really important. And I mean, one sentence description, like try to keep it as short and sweet
Yeah.
as possible because it's, as you guys
keep them
know.
in the imagination. Keep
Yeah.
them in the visual.
But
and the
that's
story.
actually really hard. So don't try. It's like to try to start there is it's a paralyzing place. Whereas I think if you do your vomit drafts and you like talk it all out, then you can get yourself into the room with that, right? Because like that is actually such a defining skill. Like it's really hard to be that succinct
100%.
and that tight in describing something, getting them in the room that's described the whole place and scene and time, and then now you've described the character and now they go and they talk. Like
character is number one. Like if you have good characters, audience will follow them to the ends of the earth, even if there's not a plot or a story.
yeah,
If they're fun and interesting characters, you got them.
you want to spend time with them.
Duplass brothers are amazing. at
Yeah.
that. Like a lot of times they don't even know how their movie's going to end while they're shooting it. They're just following these characters, and that's why their movies are so compelling, and you just watch them
Mhm.
because the characters are great. Story and plot are number two. Sadly, number three is like the actual filmmaking and making it beautiful because, Mumblecore proves that it doesn't have to look great,
Mm-hmm,
you
right.
know? And I like it to look great, but I know that's like third in the chain. Like it has to be on the page first, and it has to be great characters.
So you're editing at this point, and you're starting to write. And so how do we get out of that editor's chair into the director's chair?
I was always shooting, always like shorts, any way to shoot, whether I was getting hired to direct a commercial or music video, whatever, just always trying to find a way to shoot because it's that active. I feel like you can manifest things just by speaking it into existence or actually shooting stuff and just kind of being known in the community and working, and you're just honing your craft. So what I would start doing too, like when I have a project, is I would think, okay, well, if I'm going to, because I would pitch so much and, bring in all these storyboards and you waste an hour like selling the project. And then when they all love it, they say, oh, great. We've just spent like 2 hours and they're exhausted. And they say, let's schedule another meeting. Like, shit, man, we're finally at the part of the conversation that I was looking forward to having.
Right.
And so I started making these like vision reels. So I could basically do everything I did in 2 hours in 2 minutes.
With a teaser trailer.
Yeah, teaser trailer. I
remember that became a thing. It was like you had to we were even doing books on tape. We were even doing it, handing it to them like DVDs or CDs on the weekend, saying, "Hey, here's the script on tape."
That's
right?
so smart.
Here's a sizzle. Here's what it's going to look like.
Well, I mean, think about it. I started to put myself in executive shoes because these guys are looking at so many scripts.
Yeah.
And it's just another brick that lands on their desk. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what I would do is I would that's like, well, I'm an editor. So I would cut together these like 1 minute like trailers that were basically like a deck. I'd find these stills that would tell the story and I'd make like an 11-page deck. And then I would just digitize them and instead of having them, and I would only put one sentence on each page because you don't want to make them read too much. And so I thought, well, I'll just get a voiceover guy and I'll just cut these things to music and make it exciting and fun to watch. And those things started working.
Yep.
And that's the Deadland one. We actually shot like a little 1 minute trailer. And I remember the investor, he said to me, Fred comes up to me and he says, so we're going to do this audiovisual presentation. He's bringing in other investors. He's going to do an audiovisual presentation, right? And I was like, nope. And he's like, okay. We talk a little bit and he goes, so you're going to do an audiovisual presentation, right? And I said, Fred, I don't want to undersell the movie. If I'm not going to have the money or the talent that I want, I don't want to undersell it. And he said, okay, I get that. And he goes, so you're going to do audiovisual presentation? I go, yes, I am. I'm going to do audio. So I went and got Luis Chavez.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the birth of Deadland, and because it is a baby pretty much, right? And kudos to you, man. It's not a hard genre to be in. It's a hard story to tell. It's got, I'm even still like, it's lingering with me because I watched it over the weekend and I'm like, well, is that because of his father? And is that because of
Right.
like all the different layers that you can play into it, which is a really hard thing, you know? And especially I think from a creative standpoint, acting standpoint, when you start doing that backstory and you can go crazy. So I want to start with, let's see where the idea comes from, and let's talk about how the birth of the baby.
I love that you asked that question. Because when you're making a first feature, it's like, you know, there's much more to be thought, because I have like 11 scripts, and some of them are tied up with a nice little bow at the end, and, you know, but I thought, okay, for the first one, most of my scripts are big. You know, like I had this one script, Invisible, that almost got made so many times. It was like a $40 million movie. And that's what kept getting it stalled, because the studio would be like, we had Idris Elba attached at one time. We had Chadwick Boseman attached at one time. And it just almost.
Also, too, without you having experience, $40 million is a big check
and that
for
was
them.
the problem.
Yeah.
If it was a 3 to 5 million, it would have happened.
Yep, totally.
So, you know, Elizabeth Avion, the brilliant genius that she is, she said she's producing.
You got to prove yourself. Yeah,
she goes, let's just step back, because she was trying to help me get Invisible made. She goes, let's just step back and make something smaller. So Jas and I kind of put our heads together, like, what could we do? And I came across this story in The Guardian about this first generation U.S. border agent. And I was like, wow, what an oxymoron that is.
Yeah.
Like, his parents sneak across the border, have him, and he becomes a border agent. Like, that is a character worth writing about, you know? So I really, Jas and I really dove into the whole like border and kind of.
Well, also smart. The scale is there, because it's like it's the West Texas. Yeah. It gives you your production value.
Totally.
And it doesn't cost, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I want to say kudos too to the authenticity. And I know that world, and I know my some people that are close to me were Border Patrol. So the authenticity, I think you did a really good job.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah. I got to say, it's, you know, like, have you been down to Lajitas and all that? And so it's gorgeous, and you feel safe. You are not safe.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't realize that. And we were out shooting one day, and the scene where he's going down the river and he's riding alongside and he's kind of looking out the window. We had this camera pointed here, and Roberta, our lead's here, and it's shooting through the window. And there's a take where you see us drive by, and on the other side of the river, there's 3 federales with like AK-47s. We were like, that was weird, you know? And then we kind of stopped the car, and then there's not a paved road for a while.
Yep.
We're just on this dirt. It's not even a road. And this huge semi comes in, and it's got a logo painted on the side, and we thought it was legit. I'm not going to say what it is, because that would be doing a disservice to that company, because I don't believe it was that company.
Right, got you.
Pulls up, and the federales across the way, sees us, and our car's picture car, but it's painted up like a Border Patrol car, and saw us and just did a U-turn and left. And we had a Border Patrol agent with us, but he's back at base camp, and we told him what happened. And he goes, oh, you guys stopped either a human smuggling thing or a drug thing.
Yeah.
And he goes, and to be honest, you're lucky you're not dead, because they could have just shot you and done the thing. And we were like,
well, and
wow,
Narcos ran into that sort of, ran into that world. Okay. So let's go. We won't mention, we won't mention Texaco.
Right.
And so you have the idea, and you guys start writing it. Because it's like, look, I need to do something that is going to be
right
to prove that I can do this.
Yeah, and then you start to think, okay, so who is the audience, and what are we making this movie for? And to me, it was really important, and Jas too. Like we said, look, it's first-time filmmakers. We need to we want to sell it, but we also want to get into a festival that will kind of get us known in the industry. So we were really gunning for a Sundance or a South by, and thank God we got into South by. But that was kind of the goal, and we had this ending. The first ending of the movie did kind of tie up in a bow, and we thought, okay, this is a festival film. We got to kind of just fray the edges a little bit and leave the ending a little more open ended. I mean, we drop everything's there. You can figure it out.
I didn't. I'm slow though.
That's great. No.
John.
I mean, it's all there, but it's just
it all made sense once I got there. I was like, oh, that makes because I was just like, I
love it because like people see it and some go, well, so that's the same guy, right? And you're like, yep. And they ask all these questions like, yep, totally got it. And they're like, okay. They just wanted the reassurance.
Yeah, reassurance they got. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the part that got me, I'm not gonna give it away.
I know I want to talk about it too, but
but you were skipping over how hard it is just to get the financing to get that whole part. Let's talk about the birth of this thing.
Okay, so back to the nose.
Yeah,
the entire career of Nose.
Yeah,
because this is not the first time I asked that investment group to do this, and
was this a traditional investment group of film, or was
they're
okay.
real estate guys.
Real estate guys,
and really, really good guys and really smart guys. And I love their motto. Their motto is "Win with us, lose with us," and I think that's really cool. And they had almost made Invisible because they've got some pretty deep pockets, and it almost got there and it didn't go. And so they said, "Well, let's think about doing something smaller." And so I, come back to them a couple times and didn't work. And then this one, they really resonated with this idea. And
were they like, okay, cast contingent, or were they like?
No, they were all in.
They were all in?
Yeah. They just wanted to, this was kind of their way of, because it was small.
Yeah.
They were like, we'll dip our toe into the water and see if this works, and if it does, we'll make bigger stuff.
Okay, so this was their first sort of venture into, which tends to happen, right? For these type of investments, is you get guys in, and then you have people that don't know what they're doing, right? And their whole plan is like, well, if we can get into a festival, maybe we can sell it, and they end up spending $10-20 million and lose it because nobody knows the business side of it.
Right.
And that was all just based on your screenplay?
Well, like I said, I shot. They also know me pretty well. They've known me for 20-something years. So they, it was my whole career that I think got them to invest, because I'd been in Los Angeles for 15 years and worked for 3 or 4 studios, and also been directing. They'd seen all my commercials.
Right. Yeah. And you shot that thing that you showed them. So they had the screenplay, and then they had the 1 minute.
Yeah, and the resumes of everybody involved. Like Jazz has had like 3
but
or 4
like you didn't have any
minutes.
cast involved yet. You didn't have anyone attached.
And the cast we got is amazing, and they're on shows that people recognize, but are they household names?
Are they worth 350 in Japan? Or they have that? So you didn't have to play that game, which is amazing.
Yeah, truly amazing.
Yeah, which is amazing.
To make the movie one.
And I bet Elizabeth probably had financial plans, and sort of this is how we're going to get a return and all that kind of stuff.
She's so great about that. Like she's a veteran that's been around for.
You're lucky, right? You get to actually try to like cast. Like you're not told like, okay, you can get these 5 people,
Well, that happened to me on Invisible.
Yeah, exactly. You have a choice of these because this is what's going to cover that bet. And so you got to actually look and say, hey, I can pick who I think is right for the role, which is rare, right?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. It was a real luxury.
I'm always on all these calls, and we have these lists, and I'm like, not once has anyone mentioned, is he right for the role?
That happened to me on Invisible. Like, Idris, like we're in the room with Shani Rosenzweig, who loved the script, and she goes, "I'm going to give you my best client." And who is that? Idris Elba was like, "Oh my God, yes, he would be perfect." A couple days later, I'm having breakfast with him. He says, "It's the best script I read in 10 years," and and he signs on. And then one of the other agents, I'm not going to say the name, but they said, "How about this person?" And there was just silence in the room. And great guy, good actor, doesn't do these kinds of movies, and it was just a bad fit.
Yeah.
Really bad fit. And, even Idris is like, hey, that person's a friend of mine, but
not right.
It's just not, and I agree, and so, but it's the kind of thing that, because he wasn't quite a star yet. And so they wanted, and especially with me, who was no-name director. So they really wanted this other person who was super bankable to be the train puller. And that person was only going to be like 7 minutes of the movie, but it was enough to,
yeah. So no, I know the game really well. Yeah. So let's talk about your casting process here, because you did such a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Like, how did you go about your casting?
I offered just about, I think I offered every cast member. Like with Luis Chavez, he was the first one. Like I met him 10 years ago at the Lali Film Festival, and he was in it and was in this amazing short called A Day's Work, and I think it won like Student Academy Award, and he was that film. And I chased him down. That after that film was like, man, I don't know, you're amazing. We got to work together someday. And then, a couple of days later, my film showed, and our film Bloom had won that festival. And he chased me down. He was like, "You directed that?" He's like, "Yes, we're working together." And then it took 10 years to figure out what we were going to do together. And so he actually was in the little teaser trailer that we shot to get funding. So it was nice to at least have one lead.
Yeah.
But then this bigger name read the script and wanted to do it. and we were like, well, maybe you could play the lead, the border role. And he goes, I want to play the stranger. We were like, damn, cause it's like, we can't, cause I just couldn't do it with Luis. He's so great in it. And it's like, nobody can do that role but him.
Yeah.
So we just stuck to our guns and kept Luis Chavez in it. And then,
well, I applaud you because most people don't do that, right? Most people were like, oh, this carrot's shinier. They make these horrible decisions and ruin these relationships and don't see the ramifications of 10 years from now and being able to make films with great people.
Well, the worst part is like, I'm an editor.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I make that wrong casting decision, I got to live with it every day in the editing room and be like, shit. And I would just be cursing my own name.
Yeah.
Saying, you wuss, you could have had him. And so it was really great because at the time I hadn't heard of Roberto Obina yet. And then when I discovered him, and I don't want to say discovered because he's already working,
he's
Snowpiercer or whatever, but Narcos, and then I was like, oh yeah, this guy's amazing. So
was he brought to you by somebody, or you just were just looking around, or?
I was looking around, but he was recommended to me. Elizabeth, of course, Avion's like, you need to check him out, and immediately I was like, yes, this is the guy. And so met him. He's one of the. He has this quality about him that's very. He carries the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's so subtle. Like Jason Bateman did such a good job in Ozark of that. And he does the same. But at the same time, like working with him on set as an actor, like it's always great to have egoless actors, especially leads, because people think directors run sets, lead actors run sets, and if they're pricks, they make my life miserable. And I would try to shoulder it, but Jazz Shelton, I've been working with that guy 30 years. He would know how, and it would affect his job, and shit just rolls downhill.
Yeah.
And so I thanked him at the end of the shoot. I was like, you didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it. I worked one time, I shot a commercial with Jeff Bridges, and I was scared to death. Like, cause
it's Jeff Bridges. You don't have to say more.
Yeah. Well, he's a dude. Right. And so I walk into the trailer to meet him, and I just, in my mind, the first thing he was going to say to me is, kid, you can't tell me anything. Yeah. I've been acting longer than you've been alive. And what do you say to that? Yeah. So it's like, but he wasn't. He was so cool and willing to try stuff and always asking questions, and about halfway through the shoot, he says, we're shooting on this playground. And he says, I went to elementary school here. I was like, you are kidding me. Of all the places we picked to shoot, that's actually where we went to elementary school. And so he says, yeah, you see, it was like the fall. And he goes, you see these leaves here? And he takes a leaf off the branch and he crumples it up and he goes, see, they're kind of like burrs. And he goes, so what I would do is I would collect handfuls of this, and I'd go back to my class, and my friends were sitting in their chairs. I would just sprinkle it down the backs of their shirts, and they're all itching all day. And he just thought that was funny, right? Sure enough, like 5 minutes later, all the grips are doing this, and he's just walking by. And it's just so awesome, and like everybody. And so he did the opposite. Like, instead of being an asshole and making everybody like nervous, he made everybody laugh all day.
And he knows probably that power that he has to make an environment that is creative.
He totally understands the power. And that changed me. I was like, wow. This guy is actively trying to make everybody's day fantastic because he knows who he is and he knows the power that he has. And
Roberto kind of had that too.
He has that. He's always, making jokes and having a good time and playful, but still really professional. And it's just nice when people they get it.
Well, and that's scary too when you do like offer only, right? You don't know if you're going to get.
I do my homework. I mean, I look at every interview they've ever done. I watch all their stuff, and I make sure they're a good actor first, but then I also make sure they're cool.
But a lot of times your financing is contingent.
Then ask around.
That's really smart.
It's smart, but also your finances is contingent on, you know what I mean? So you're like, yeah, he's a prick, but I'll get through it because I want to get this made.
Totally. Yeah. And sometime I hope, someday that'll probably happen. But
yeah. Okay. So, but did you have to read, or did you audition?
I read all the roles I offered, except for one, the Hannah role. I had a friend that was going to do it, and she's an amazing actress, Brie Blair, and she got pinned on another movie, and it was a big one. So I understand, we're friends. And so I said, okay, well, we'll hold till August 15th for you to see if you get the show or not.
It all lines up.
Yeah, and we'll hold. But I said, in August, I'm going to start reading people just in case, So I read 3,000 actresses because I had this bar of Brie Blair, who's an amazing actress. I was like, and
Did you do LA or did you LA, New York? Did you
Did the whole freaking
country?
world.
Oh, yeah.
Just the whole world.
National, you did national shirts. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there were like 5 that were good. One was, pretty big name that they were good. Like they would kill it. Right. But then there was this one performance that came in from Australia, and immediately I was like, that's it. Like just so good that it scared me. Like I was like, if I give this girl any direction, I'm gonna mess up my film, because she just nailed it, you know. And that's the thing about, and I highly recommend this to any director. Don't give any direction. Let them read it. Give them the chance to show you how they see it in their mind's eye, because you want to know who you're working with, right? And then at that point, once they kill it and they're great, then it's just a conversation. Then you just sit down, because now the last thing you want to do is try to teach somebody how to act on your film.
Yeah. What are you guys is?
I'm like ecstatic over here.
Right.
You just said that and someone's recording, right? You press record.
I mean, it's one of the best feelings as an actor.
I think
have a director.
It's empowering.
Like that.
It's it's not even so much about here's the thing. It's like when we're reading a script, we have instincts that come up. This is part of our instrument.
Yeah.
Whereas yours is like, Avid or whatever you use, right? Your keys. This is part of our instrument, are these instincts, these impulses that come up when we read, as far as like, oh, I feel an impulse to walk over to the door when I say that, because now I'm upset, I'm angry in this way, or I'm whatever emotion might be coming up for me in this scene. All of that stuff is done in here, in the reading, right? Before we start working. And so then when I come to the table, I feel like that's where I need to play a version first, like exercise that. And that's when we start the dance, right?
That's right.
It's like you've actually already you've made the first move, right? You've already led the dance. And now I'm coming in and here's my follow. And then now you're going to start to direct back, right? But if you just like start by immediately telling me like what to do, where to go, how to stand, whatever, it starts to just suppress all of those
get blocked.
instincts that you had in you, that then you're like in a place where you're fighting yourself,
you're
to
second
try
guessing.
to give them what they're asking you for, and then you're trying to figure out how to do that. And then sometimes, depending on time or whatever's happening, you start making bad choices, and you start making like actor-y choices, and you get desperate, and you get shut down.
You start thinking, I'm not,
Right.
These instincts aren't correct.
Yeah, that sounds like you're
insecure,
second
and you
The best
just
part-
fucking crumble.
The best part, the thing that excites me, and this is when I cast people, is when I see a performance, when somebody reads for the first time and doesn't know what I was thinking when I wrote it, they just read the script and trust their own instincts, is you see these unpredictably natural performances. Like I would have never told them to do that, but holy shit, that's way better than, and trust me, I've been sleeping with this idea for 200, 300 days in my head, and they just walk in this room and blow me away and totally surprise me. And I'm like, holy shit.
And the thing about a good actor is that if it's wrong for what you're trying to communicate on the page with what you were trying to say, we're open to that part.
Right. 100%.
That's where the work, that's where the teamwork comes in, is like, now help guide me with what you are actually trying to say. And then I can find those impulses to get myself there.
Well, that's the creative process. Like that, to me, that's the best part, is unpacking a scene, is what I call it. Like Kendall Ray, who was Hannah, loves to do that. And I love actors that love to do that, because then, when you start to unpack it and talk about everything in it and what they can bring and what we were thinking, then all of a sudden it starts here and it starts to do this, And so what I do is I don't like a table read. I know a lot of, it's just kind of an icebreaker.
I don't understand table reads.
Despise them. I don't understand who they're for.
I think it's just, I think it's an icebreaker, and I just
sure.
Yeah.
What I do is I do like a, what do you call it? I call them micro reads. So I'll basically ask 3 actors that maybe share a handful of scenes, and we'll go sit at a table. We'll just read through it. And
that sounds nice.
It's
like
so
that I understand.
informal, and it's small, so you don't feel like everybody's watching you.
Oh, I've been in the boardrooms with the boardrooms, all the execs, and all.
And having
what
to
is
listen
this
to
for?
some poor
and you start thinking, well, because I'm not performing the script. So who am I performing for?
What are we doing here?
Yeah,
and
and
I hate
also this poor bod who's having to like ramble through the freaking stage
Narration,
directions that's just like bumbling over their words and trying to say it all fast, and it's never going to operate at the time of rate of which you would actually see a thing. So it's just like mind numbing, and you're like so uncomfortable.
Well, and I also
like,
almost feel that way about auditioning. It's like, this is not what you're going to do.
Right.
That's
you're not
true,
going to
too.
look at
What we do,
a couple of people and with some guy reading, you know, like what is this for?
Yeah, that's why I don't even be in the room. I like somebody to be in the comfort of their own space and shoot it with their own instincts, and that's their time to show what, you know, who they are, because that's the key. Is like every actor that's worth their salt brings himself to the role. Then, you know, and
I did love that when we started that way, and it was like the Wild West of self tapes. I was a master at that. I was like, ooh, I'm going to use this to my advantage. We're going outside. I'm getting actual props. You know, it's like those were the golden days of self tapes. And then it just became this thing where it was like, here's 15 pages, get it in the next 8 hours. And you're like, now I have to become a one-woman film crew. Find a sitter, get out of my job, get lighting. Like that's so much pressure all of a sudden that it's like awful.
Oh yeah. To me, the worst is when I've never done it because I won't do it, is audition people on Zoom.
It's awful.
It's
awful.
That sounds crazy to me.
Can you nobody likes a Zoom meeting anyway, right? How many meetings do we have? Do a Zoom audition.
Now they'll have the two people, right?
Right.
And they'll put them on the screen
side
together,
by side.
right? And
to audition
together.
Like we're in different rooms. You and I are auditioning together.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And I don't see you. You don't see me.
And
but they want them to play off of each other.
Yeah, we're married.
And we're not in a pandemic anymore, so we're just being stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
It's lazy and completely impersonal.
Yes.
It's like, wow. That's crazy. Like, I don't understand that one bit.
But also, do you want to drive to Dallas for?
No, I do not.
And do you want to go for the 405 to the 10 to Santa Monica back to the Valley?
No, I do not. But I also feel like there used to be stages though as well, right?
No, right.
So like
if
it's down to the wire and it's between me and somebody and it's like a really important meeting, I'll go. But don't make everybody drive right out of the gate, blah, blah, blah. And
oh, for sure. I agree.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
and just the other side of it is, you see a read, you know instantly if they can do the role or not. You don't need to see them call back after call back.
Yeah.
You don't need to see that. You know, because if you have to see them 10 times, then they're not the person.
Yeah, I mean, but a lot of commercials.
Maybe.
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
You have some work to do on you, right?
Right.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been in the room and I've been like, God, we can't find it. And I'm like, wait a minute. You don't know what you're doing.
Right? Yeah. Seriously. Seriously, because you know instantly.
Yeah. I'm like, these three people could not do this all day long.
Yeah.
I'm like, you are insecure. You don't. The director doesn't know what he's doing.
The only time, this happened to me one time, I read a person and instantly knew this is the lead. And this is not for Deadland, this is for another project years ago. And this person read it and they were amazing. And I watched it and I was like, I'm totally going to cast this person. Then I went to Jas and his wife and I said, watch this read. And they watch it and go, yeah, that's the lead. And I go, okay, watch it one more time. Is this person likable? And they watch it again and they go, oh my God, you can't cast this person. Right? It's like sometimes, because there's some people are magnetic.
Yeah.
And some people aren't. Yeah. And it's just a thing. And it's like, then it sucks when they're not and they're good.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was making a feature of my own a long time ago, and I had that in this casting of this one really important role. And my husband and I were so at odds, and they were like, you have to cast him for Mike. And I was like, I know he's so much more like the legit guy, but he's not like open enough to everybody.
Totally.
As far as like watchable, likable.
I think Zero Charisma
character.
and Sam is a perfect example of that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like Zero Charisma, we had those guys in here, and it's like Sam could come off as a real dick, but there's a lovable factor to him.
That's magnetism.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how that can happen. You know, it's like, and it's awesome when that happens, because those are the best characters.
But you could get swayed, be like, oh, this is the guy. This is so good, right?
And it does suck for that guy where it was like, he would have been a great Mike, but there was just this thing about him that I knew universally more people were probably going to be a bit repelled by him than
But that guy is probably right for a lot of things that this other guy is.
Totally. He just can't be the lead, the person that you want to follow. He can play other roles, but that's
Country for Old Men. It's like you want to hate, you want to,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But some of those bad guys, they are, even though they're so awful, they have that magnetic, you love them.
Yeah,
like
Right.
Ben
Yeah.
Kingsley is
Yeah.
a truly amazing,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
Sexy Beast, I think
Yeah.
character.
It's
God.
so
Oh,
good.
so
It's
good.
so good.
That's so good.
I remember when
I hadn't thought about Sexy Beast in a
It's
long
so good.
time.
I saw it at Limley's. I was just in my seat going, that was so good.
Well, the best part about it is the first 30 minutes of the movie, they say, he's coming over and they're like, oh, and it just ruins their whole night. And everybody's like, I was like, this character better be fucking amazing
Yeah.
because they are built him up to an impossible standard.
You better be awful.
And then Ben Kingsley shows up and he's like way better.
Yeah.
And I was like, they knew they had that guy. They had the perfect character because they could build him up and he would still.
Yeah.
That was just
Yeah.
amazing.
How do you feel as a director? Because some people have come in and said, like, do you feel like there is one person for a role that you write, or do you feel like it could be?
When I was younger, I did.
Yeah, you're open to it now.
Having seen so many reads and people surprise me that sure, when I'm writing, I have a person in my head, but when it comes to casting, I throw all that out the window. I just want to see whoever come in and read it and be the person.
Yeah.
Because if you put this person in your head, then you're constantly trying to hit that. And you're, to me, just showing yourself a disservice because you could get better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
You're not in a creative process either. You're in a an accounting mode. Like we have to hit a number or something. Yeah.
Totally. And that's the beautiful thing about this business is you can't make a movie by yourself. You really can't. People do it, but you're living in a vacuum. And so it's only going to be as good as that vacuum is.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're truly a creative process, you're working with like 70 people. And if you can get everybody to invest, that's really the amazing thing. When you come out of a great movie, you're like, holy shit, that took like 70 to 300 people.
I make my kids watch the credits. I make my kids watch the credits.
Yeah. And they're all firing to hit their best work and nail it. And when it's nailed, you're like, that is an act of God. That is amazing, Well,
that's what, anyone that even makes a film, I'm always like,
yeah,
whether it's good or bad, I'm like, dude,
They did it.
congratulations.
Yeah, no shit,
it's
right?
It's so difficult. Like, I can't even tell you the trail of like hundreds of movies that I've tried to help with that never saw the light of day. That were amazing films.
Yeah, and all the energy and the love that goes into it. And when it doesn't get made and falls apart, it's just like, oh, it's killer.
So you read for one role, but everybody else was offer, or?
Yeah, everybody else was an offer.
Okay.
Just chased them all down and begged them.
No hesitation.
How was that process for you? Like, so you, but you're just trusting at that point, right? You're trusting like your instincts that this is the right one, or like, yeah. That's pretty, that's like kind of scary, right? Because then the first day you're seeing that is either at a read or that first day.
But I knew how good they were.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had an advantage.
You picked some amazing people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I knew they were going to be fine, especially after we'd offer, and then if I met them and they were not cool, I'd find a way out of it.
Yeah.
But they were all amazing.
But this mystical sort of like real, not real world that you were playing in, right?
Yeah.
Is hard to pull off.
Oh, totally. Yeah. We were that
as an
magical
actor,
realism.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, that's why I wanted Chavez, because he's so good at just living in his skin, and he's one of those people that doesn't have to say a lot. And so he and I made the decision together that he was going to sequester himself away from the crew. And just because he knew that when he would enter the movie, it was going to be weird. And so because he just has that presence about him, and he's a little guy.
He's got such a great face, man.
All the actors were scared to death of him. It was so amazing. Like he got to set and he would just stay in his, we were all in this motel. And so everybody'd come out to the parking lot at night because we were bubbled out because it was COVID, right?
Yeah.
So we would
you guys shot during COVID too.
Oh, yeah. So I just kept waiting for the ground to fall out from under me, and it somehow never did.
Yeah.
And we even entered
I looked
production.
at West Texas during COVID too because I was like, no one's going to find us out here.
Yeah. Totally.
We can go do whatever.
Exactly. And that was the best. That was great. And same thing, we shot the first half in Frederick, Oklahoma because we could shoot interiors and we got the whole town for $2,500. It was crazy. But, and also, I was going to say about COVID. It was so
you were
fun.
all meeting in the parking lot.
You're meeting in the parking lot at the
so,
motel.
Or to fall
so
out
we'd meet
and-
there, and it was great. We'd all have beers or whatever, at night, but he would never come out, and we'd be making food or whatever, and we'd bring it to his room, and they'd all be like, "Dude, he doesn't come out. Like, what's going on with that guy? And I
Just
go,
a silhouette in his window.
yeah,
like,
yeah. And he's so stone faced, and he did that on purpose to freak him out, you know? And so they're like, what's up with him? And I said, dude, I don't know, man. I'm scared of him. You know, we're dear friends, and I would just fuck with the actors because that's the best part. Like, I love, because their perception is reality. And I was like, man, he freaks me out. And they're like, he freaks you out? And I was like, yeah, I don't know how this is going to go. Dude.
I don't know how this is going to go.
So amazing. Like, you know, McCall Lombardi, brilliant actor. He's been to Cannes like 5 times, and he's like this jacked guy. And he was scared to death. Like, every time he was in a scene with Luis, McCall hurt himself. Like, he rolled the gurney over his foot. He tripped over the gurney. One time he tripped into the mirror and split it. He really split that mirror in that scene. Wasn't supposed to, but that he was just, it was off-footing around him, and it was great for performance.
And he probably played into it. Like, you know, it's like, oh, you're giving me something, I'm going to use it.
100%. Because he's a total pro. Yeah. And by the way, with those micro reads, the best thing about those things is like when you have those actors in the room and you know, first you just read it like 3 or 4 times, just read the scene, but then something happens. That magic starts because they're actors, you know, they just get excited and they start actually acting out the scene. And so we start playing, then we block it a little. And then right when it starts to get really good, I just cut it. We're done, and we don't revisit it till the day, and we shoot it because I don't want them to
lose the magic.
Yeah,
you turn the volume up. It's right here.
Yeah.
Let's wait till we get to set, and then we'll keep.
Yeah, because if you peak early, you never recreate that magic.
That's and I've felt that over rehearsing stuff. I felt that for sure.
Yeah. Because then everybody's trying to hit that mark again, and it just doesn't feel natural. And that's the key, I think, is that spontaneous. If you can get that spontaneity on screen.
We only got a couple minutes left, so what's next?
It's funny, when we were location scouting for Deadland, Jas and I are driving around in, you know, Lahidas, and my son is sitting in the back seat, and he's 20 now. He's probably 17, 18 at the time. He goes, I got an idea for a movie. We're like, oh, we're in the middle of nowhere, pitch it. He drops his bomb on us, and Jim and I were like, shit. They're like, okay, well, we're going to write that. Like, and what it was, it's like the log line of this movie would be spin the disc if you dare. 3 friends play a mysterious vinyl record that has lethal MK Ultra side effects. So it's like, so it's about an unshared experience.
Yeah.
3 people listen to this record. They all hear something different.
Okay.
Yeah. It's neat.
I mean, good ideas come from anywhere.
Right.
Even our damn kids.
Just amazing. I was like, dude, that's crazy. And he loves vinyls.
Yeah.
He listens to vinyls, and there's like this resurgence of
which is
that
fun,
generation,
which is
super weird.
a fun world to play around.
Yeah. So of
I
course
just got a record player for Christmas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love vinyls, man.
Yeah.
They're great. So it's just kind of a fun, cool thing, because, you know, we have these other scripts. Again, most of my ideas started around 17 and they go up to like 40 million or bigger. And so he had this little idea, and I was like, wow, that's not bad. So we budgeted it out because we didn't want to do a super low again. So it's like around 7 or 8 million.
Okay.
So yeah.
Where's it? Where shoot here? Or?
We want to shoot. Elizabeth and Nixon were gracious and said, hey, why don't you think about Troublemaker? Because, you know, the first half of the year we're not doing, so we are trying like hell. If we had the incentive, but the incentive's kind of tricky here. Like, they don't guarantee it to you. They guarantee it, we'd shoot it in Austin.
Yep.
But because they're not guaranteeing it, we're like, well, shoot, you know, we need it, you know? So we'll see.
Okay.
You know?
And then when I saw you at that event too, you had really great advice for people, directors and coming up and stuff like that. If you want to drop any of your gems or your knowledge.
Yeah. I keep pushing forward, keep doing something, keep shooting, keep, you know, write. You know, like when you're not doing something, be doing something, you know, be shooting those pitch deck things or, you know, whatever you can, you know, that's key to me. It's you know, same thing with actors, you know, if you're not getting to audition, that doesn't mean you can't write a monologue yourself and shoot it.
Yeah.
You know, and then look at it, you know, and if it's not on the level, you know, watch the best, like a Natalie Portman monologue, and say, okay, why is mine not as good as hers? What can I do to make it that great? You know, and
that's the bumper sticker. If you're not doing something, be doing something.
Right. It's the only way, because then you get used to pushing.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know how not to push.
Well,
anymore.
the work's not connected to just a job or getting paid. Like, you just learn to work. And that's what what it is. Just I wake up, I work all day long, whether someone's paying me or not.
Yeah, I think you gotta be in love. Like you have to love it.
You have to love it.
Because
there's so many easier ways to make money, man.
Yeah. And it's painful when you miss on something. But I think that people get confused and think, the rejection part of it. It's not rejection. Like the only way you succeed in life is through failure. You have to fail to succeed. So if you fail a bunch, hopefully you got your eyes and ears open and you're learning. You're not just doing the same thing. You're failing and go, well, maybe I'll go this way. Well, that didn't work. I'll go this way. And eventually, like those investors that invested in Deadland, I probably asked them 10 times for money,
totally.
and I'm going to keep knocking on their door and they're like, God, you're still here. All right, let's do something. You know what I mean? And that's just, that's the business, and like y'all probably walked into a room to pitch a project. It's happened to me. Walked in a room to pitch a project. I'm like, hey, I remember you 5 years ago. I pitched you and you were at this, at NBC.
Well, also just your relationship with actors. Like you were at a festival and then 10 years later, it's like all those I was saying this on the Zoom yesterday. I was like, man, our 20 years of working 7 days a week, 19 hours a day, and all the relationships we've gone are finally starting to pay off. Only took 20 years.
100% though. It's like, it's such an incestuous business because people get on shoots and they work 6 weeks to 4 months together. And then that show ends and they go work on a different show. And then everybody's talking. Everybody's talking like, hey, what'd you work on? And the town just shrinks and keeps shrinking. And like you said, when we get to our age, it's like you kind of know everybody.
Yeah.
And
I always, when people ask me what I do, I say I'm a carnival worker.
We are.
Yeah.
I
go, we come in, we set it up, we do the little trick, and then we break it down, and then we leave.
Yeah. It's so true, though. It's so true. And what's great about it is because what we do is so fun, and it truly, you feel like a kid on set, right? Yeah. And if it's going well, I feel like in those first 3 days as a filmmaker, you either win your crew or you lose your crew. And so you're kind of auditioning for them. And so it's like if you come prepared and you're working hard and they're all looking over your shoulder, they're seeing what's on the monitor.
Yeah, what are these next 30 days of my life going to be like?
That's right. Yeah. And if it's good, then everybody gets excited and they get empowered and they start trying really hard. But if it's bad, then everybody's like, well, I'm just going to take a smoke break and it's just going to be that show.
Yeah.
And it's like, but if it's good, then everybody's kind of operating on this high. And it's really fun.
And that goes back to your lead actor. Like, what are they showing up? Are they, like all
That's
those
key.
All those keys, right? If they, it's from top down to whether you
100%.
get your PA's like, man, I'm making something. This is exciting. Yep.
That's exactly right. Like I remember we were shooting film, and how stupid is that on a low budget project? It just raises the cost even more. But it was so worth it.
On Deadlands, right? That's what at the end I was like, I saw Kodak, and I was like, that had to suck.
But it's so great because it's organic, and like I think that's what's so great.
Well, for West Texas too, you want to capture that
100% because it's so rough out there. You want the film to look as rough as that, and especially 16 because it's just nasty. And like when you're shooting, it's an organic process. So that's what I love about film is it's organic. Unless you're shooting like a movie and science fiction in space.
Yeah.
Because then it's crisp.
Right.
And you want the crispness. But other than that, I'm always shooting film.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Well, it was a beautiful film, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We're at time, so thank you so much, man. It was great to get to know you.
Dude, likewise.
Yeah. Nice to know you're here. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, here.
That's great.
Love it here.
Look, and we're here.
Yeah.
That shrunken town.
You're right. Really small here.
Yeah.
Our show today was recorded in studio by the good folks at Record ATX. Check them out at recordatx.com. Our theme music is produced by Jonathan Price. You can check out some of the sounds he makes with his project, The Mid-Cities, on Spotify. Follow, subscribe, and smash that like button if you see one. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.